face.
Hi everybody. I hope everyone's having a good Saturday. We can finally breathe out here. The humidity and the oppressive heat have finally left, and we have beautiful weather. Big white fluffy clouds, bright blue sky, nobody's melting. It's all good. So today we're going to be tackling from start to finish in the autumn garden piece. It's the mate to the Au Jardin piece that we did a couple of weeks ago. I really love this one, but then again, I really love autumnal colors. Anything to do with the fall, it's my favorite season. So we're going to be doing that piece today. It's a fun one. Some of you have asked when we were going to have these stencils back in stock. We do have some right now, although they are limited, but we do have some.
Which one?
That's the one. And they are available on both websites. So if you're Canadian and looking for them, yes, we do have them in stock. And there was something else we had in stock. Oh yes, I added a new stamp set to the website. I thought this one was kind of cool when I saw the wholesaler had it. It's a series of butterflies, bumblebees, and we have another one coming that's got a variety of different bugs. But it creates postage stamps. It's a really cool little set. And if you have watched me at all, you already know that I absolutely love anything to do with postage stamps. I don't collect stamps, but I'm kind of obsessed with them when it comes to putting them into art. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I do like cancellation stamps. I'm obsessed with those too. But before we get started today, let's talk about our giveaways. And I honestly am not sure what's in them. I packed a bunch ahead of time and I completely forgot what I put in them. I'm going to blame it on age and menopause. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But chances are pretty good that there's some Dynasty brushes in there, and that there's some Tombow goodies in there, as well as some other fun stuff that we like to tuck in from time to time. So we do have 3 giveaways today. The average value of those giveaways is anywhere between $25 and $55. So it's a nice little giveaway. We give you some really nice Dynasty gold, black gold, or faux squirrel brushes, or water lily, or micron. So your guess is as good as mine.
I'm really surprised we didn't catch a tail go across.
No, May's just trucked right through here as if she owned the place. So I lost my train of thought. It derailed. No survivors. I talked about those. There was something else and I completely blanked. Oh, that's what it was. Hello. Like I said, lights are on, nobody's home. I've had so many questions about the membership in the last few days. We have 2 tiers on the paid membership group. Tier 1 is access to videos only, which means that you have access to the members' videos on the YouTube channel. And that is it. You can also join the Facebook group as well, but that does not give you access to any of the downloads. That is for the next tier. The next tier has access to the private pages on my website where they can download a variety of materials, including their monthly free pattern and challenges and things like that. So if you're looking to join the membership, decide which one you want. We have 2 tiers for a reason. Some people wanted to join, simply don't have the resources for that bigger monthly payment, and that's fine. But we like you to enjoy what we do have available. So if you want the upper tier, it's Create with Tracy Live. And if you want the lower tier, which is just access to the videos, it's Tracy Moreau Create with Tracy Videos. So we've designated them both that way. If you are part of the Create with Tracy Live, you have access to the downloads, you have access to a free live class every month, you have access to a whole bunch of goodies, as well as challenges, contests, prizes, etc. So we have lots and lots to offer, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if that is of interest to you, it's super easy. Just go to my YouTube channel at Tracy Moreau Design and click on the blue join button and follow the prompts. Decide from there what you'd like to do. Just to give you an idea of what kind of free classes that we do every month, if you haven't been part of the video program, over my shoulder here is a female cardinal done in colored pencil. That is the project for July. So we are going to have a oodles of fun.
Before it disappears.
Before what disappears?
Gail Woolsey.
Aw, Gail. You're so sweet. Thank you. The puppers love you and appreciate you. So do we. Thank you for your donation. That's something else that we're going to be talking about very soon is our 12 Days of Christmas. So, I know.
What? It's July.
I know.
Don't talk about Christmas yet.
I know it's July, but 12 Days of Christmas comes very quickly and it requires a bit of planning.
I have yet to emotionally recover from the last one.
You'll be fine. Little therapy and you'll be fine.
There's no therapy in the world that can recover me from
All that glitter.
That much glitter.
All right. So I got the business stuff out of the way. I do have to say hi to a few people. Penny Frednick. Hello, Penny. And there's my girl Robin Storm and Phyllis Freeman. Mary Davis. And we have a lot of new names on here. Mickey Quarles.
What's wrong with the sound?
Renee Fix Sound.
What did I do?
Am I still, is he still watching? I think, honey, I think your sound it might be on your end. Ours is working. And Margaret Davis, hello. Melissa Jones. And Claudette Hunter. How are things out by the lake? You look so cute, Renee. He did look cute with all that glitter.
Yeah. It's traumatizing.
It was traumatizing for him. All right.
I have a puppy.
You have a pup. You had a puppy. She's heading upstairs.
Where are you going?
Come here. You can't see her. She doesn't want to jump.
Didn't want. You want your well?
Not unless you throw it.
Come here.
Good. All right, guys. If you are ready to get started on our... There's the puppy dog. There's Miss Maze. You better take her out.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Or
eat.
she's going without you. One of the two.
Been trying to eat Dad.
Is she?
Yep.
Okay. Lean Pickens.
Oh, what's this? $27.99.
Oh, Sheila, what's the problem?
Glitter withdrawal?
I look forward to glitter withdrawal, Renee. Sound is great. Nice. Thank you very much.
Sound is not loud.
Oh my goodness. So with their sound, it's just not loud. And Donna Baker's sound is fine. Or you could have pulled a me, like I did this week. Couldn't figure out how come I couldn't hear somebody on my phone.
You had the muted?
I had the I had the volume shut off.
Oh. Yeah, turn up the volume.
Don't ask me how I did that. There's Patsy Justice. Hi, Patsy. I had to set sound at top levels. Wow. Have cannot. Good heavens, I have no idea. Sound is set properly on this end. According to this, we're hitting just fine.
I have it maxed out on this one, so.
Very low on Facebook and YT. That's strange. Someone said it sounds like a fan. Hang on a second. Is that better? Might want to shut that one off too.
We have a fan over here.
How's that? But it's still really quiet. Okay, so some people are getting great sound and others are not. That's strange.
Then we go to sound settings.
Crazy. So Renee's trying, just not as loud and clear as normal. Okay. Yeah, the fan sound you were hearing is the dehumidifier. And accordingly, apparently we're muffled. Nope.
Okay, so Renee's just going to tinker a bit and see if he can't fix that for y'all. Karen Wilson making 8 a.m. making Christmas cards. Is this? See if that works. How's that, folks? Now it's loud.
Okay. Weird.
Okay, there. Everybody says that's much better.
Cool.
There.
That's good.
Like you needed me more loud and obnoxious. Okay, good.
That
Awesome.
Windows update.
Oh, yeah. Just before we went live, Windows decided to update the computer that runs all of this stuff. So somewhere along the line, something got changed. Renee just changed it back.
We're all good.
That little jiggle of the mic. I think the little jiggle of the mic was just at the same time that he did that. Renee to the rescue. Yes, indeed. Okay, so now that we have the sound issue sorted out, I remembered what it was I was going to say before my train derailed. I was going to say that if you want to get your name on the wheel for those giveaways, all you have to do is join us in the chat. Say good morning, say hello, hit the like button, the share button, hit all the buttons. What the heck? You know, live large. So that's all you have to do. And your name will be put on the wheel. And at the end of the day, we spin the wheel and 3 people win one of those great little goodies that we send out. So if you guys are ready, now that we have all of that stuff out of the way, let's paint In the Autumn Garden. I love this piece. I have a thing for fall. I love the fall. And I think it's the colors. It's also the temperature because I don't like warm weather. So I really love anything that has to do with the fall. I look good this morning. Wow. I'm feeling much better. I think that has a lot to do with it. So we're going to build up this background. I'm a fan. I love stenciled backgrounds. And this one, I like this one because it's a little muted. It's busy, but it's not busy, if you get my drift. So this is the one that we're going to be doing today. And I think the big thing for me is all of these brightly colored leaves, bits and pops of color everywhere. And then I love the watering can. I'm just obsessed with watering cans of late. This one's a little simpler than the one we did the last time. And but the techniques are very similar. So we're going to work this one and we're going to put a little focus on that background right off the bat. So this one's super easy. There's lots of layers in this. It's a pretty one. I love the colors. And this time around, instead of a nuthatch, I chose a little chickadee. The little devils are out in abundance right now. So are the yellow finches. We have finches galore here right now. And they're very busy. They like going on the bricks and picking off the little flies that seem to gather at night. The spiders have these little webs over the bricks on the side of the house, and the little tiny flies that come out at night tend to get caught in them, and the finches come and eat them. So, Ann Fogg asked, is that female cardinal background done in colored pencil? Yes, it is. That's my membership class for the month of July. What size is the board? It's an 8 by 10, Thanet. Hi, Elka. Oh, Judy, you're energetic this morning. What did I do this morning? Not a lot. I had breakfast, watermelon and a croissant. So we're going to stencil the background for this piece. I'm going to use a little piece of shop towel here. I spent 2 hours getting ready for today. And I still feel like I didn't do enough. That's crazy, but like I didn't get enough done this morning. So I picked up a little bit of cobblestone on my stencil brush, and I'm going to blot it on a piece of shop towel. And then I'm going to work in a circular fashion and change directions frequently. When you do this background, you don't want it fully opaque. We want this fairly muted. The idea is that this is going to be pushed back quite considerably so that it does not become the feature, but rather just a texture that's in the background. And so we don't want it heavy or fully opaque because in order to knock it back, it will take many, many layers to get it there if we put too much color on. So nice light touch, circular fashion, change directions frequently. Hi, Lisa Ashby. And Crystal Hendricks, it's nice to see you here, honey. Oof. We don't need rain. Although, I mean, most of the plants in my garden have bolted because we had so much rain. Crystal, I've been excited all week about this one. I'm almost finished with next week's class. I'm so excited about that one. It's Christmas. I'm doing a Christmas piece for next week. I'm just a little obsessed with it, so bear with me. I know. Who wants to do Christmas in July? I do. It's the only time I feel cool enough to do it or warm enough to do it. So that's about what we're looking for right there. It's clear, but it's not fully opaque, so it looks rather soft. And then I'm going to offset the stencil a little bit. I prefer to do it this way for a couple of reasons. If I offset a little, I'm going to pull that a little further. I've got that all buggered up. Here we go. I'm going to offset this just a little. I got to do this a little bit. There we go. Okay, I just wasn't lined up properly here. I offset this a little bit so that it doesn't look like we have bricks on there. Oh, Becky, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. So I've offset this a little bit. You'll see why in a minute. If you don't offset it, it ends up being misspaced. It doesn't come close together enough. And then it ends up looking like decorative bricks on your finished piece. However, if you offset it the way I have, even just a little bit, it doesn't take much, it begins to look more like one large pattern as opposed to a bunch of individual patterns. And it gives the background a nice cohesive look. A lot of the time when people have trouble with a stencil and can't get it to look cohesive, that the pattern doesn't repeat smoothly, it's usually because the spacing is off, that it got either too close or too far apart. And I actually got it a little too close in one spot here, but I don't think it's going to matter much at this point. So there we go. And then I'm going to offset again like this. Always prefer to take the design off the page. Okay. How come your brush is missing? I don't know, but we'll look into it. We'll find it. YouTube updated today, and so did Microsoft. What's for dinner this evening? This evening we're having lemon chicken Caesars. That is what's on the menu tonight. My husband is in, and I'm grilling the chicken. My husband is out in the yard today building a, what do you call it? It's a shelter for my outdoor kitchen. He's putting like the roof supports up. I'm calling it my outdoor kitchen because I have my smoker out there. I have the regular barbecue out there. And I have a cooktop that we take out for certain things. So yeah, I call it my outdoor kitchen because that's what I do some cooking out there. So he's spent the bulk of the summer thus far creating a nice outdoor space for us. And so he's extended our deck and put a beautiful gazebo on and new lawn furniture, and it's just, he's making a really beautiful outdoor space for us. So, and we're just waiting on the lighting and all that good stuff. We've got some nice step down lights that I think are going to be really cool to sort of light the stairs, the steps down onto the lower deck. Just really nice. So now, instead of looking like a series of bricks, it looks more cohesive. So it just looks like the pattern, like a piece of fabric. Whereas if I had put individual pieces in and I didn't space them well, it would have looked like a whole bunch of stamps. And I really like the idea of it having that continuity. So once you have that down, you have to make sure it's good and dry before you do the next step. Here we go. Oh my stars, you guys have been busy. Oh, Karen, I can send you the recipe for the lemon potatoes if you don't have it. What did I do this week? I made a batch of limoncello, so I had some lemons that needed using, and so I peeled them, and instead, I don't need any more dried right now, so I just kept all of the peels. I did about 8 pounds of lemons, and then I washed the rinds, and then I put them into a big mason jar, and then I poured a rather large bottle of vodka on top of it. So I have a big mason jar full of lemon rind and vodka, and I've been I go in and I give it a shake, just toss it back and forth a little bit once a day, but it's going to take about 3 to 5 weeks before it's ready, and then I can add the simple syrup to that to sweeten it a little. But that's been my thing this week. I've been doing a few things. Worked in the garden a little bit. Oh, the stencil brush. Okay, let me show you. My favorite stencil brushes are these. These are Dynasty Stencil Pro. This is a synthetic stencil brush. And you can't kill these. These are an absolutely fabulous stencil brush. Well worth the price. Now, having said that, If you go to thebrushguys.com and use the coupon code TracyM, it'll give you an additional discount. The Brush Guys website, everything is already discounted from their list price. So you'd be getting an additional discount on the discounted price. So they're really good that way. So the discount code is TracyM. You'll love them. So once this is completely dry, you're going to sand this, not to wear it off, but to soften it. So if there's any ridges where the paint is built up, things like that, if you put a little too much paint on, if you find a spot that's a little brighter than you think it should be, you can sand it a little, just like that. So, I love this look. I think that this one is so, so pretty. So, I'm going to wipe off the dust. And then we're going to use a little bit of lamp black. And just a little. We don't need a ton of it. You can see it right here. I'm going to pull this way. And then I'm going to use a big flat wash brush. Very, very big. About a 1 inch or so. And you're going to thin out that lamp black with a little bit of water or glaze. The choice is yours. If you don't have the Joe Sonia fast dry glaze, just water will do the trick. And then you're going to apply a wash, a light wash. You don't want to bury this all together, of that thinned lamp black over top of that stencil. Now, I pull the brush marks in one direction. I don't slip slap. They just go in one direction only. The reason for that is that if you slip slap, the pattern will show. Whereas if you do it in horizontal lines, it just sort of falls into the overall design. The other nice thing is by using smooth horizontal lines like that, it starts to look a bit like fabric. So I'm going to dry this really quick. And then if I find that the design is still a little too prominent, I can put another thin layer on. And what we're looking for is subtle. Good morning, Patty. No, you can't have too many brushes. I just ordered a bunch. I needed some new riggers. My riggers are looking a bit sketchy these days. So are my liners. So I'm going to use one more coat. I want to soften this a little bit more. I love this finish, and I find that the softer it is, the subtler it is, the better. You don't want to bury it completely, but we want it subtle. I've done this finish using gold. I've done it using black and red. Red is really pretty. If you use a color like champagne gold or like a Venetian gold, something with a little age to it. Even 24 karat gold, although it can be a little gaudy at times. With this particular finish, it's gorgeous. And it's very pretty for Christmas ornaments. So you would do a red background as opposed to black. Stencil in very light tones of gold. If you want to, you could add a little copper to that. It looks really pretty. And then let it dry really well, because metallics take a bit longer. And then you would apply a wash of either soft black or a mixture of your base red with a little bit of black. So you would wash over top of that, and it subdues the gold, takes the brassiness out of the gold, but it is a really elegant look. I think this is just about it. So I've got 2 layers of that black wash. Thebrushguys.com. And it's The Brush Guys, all one word. thebrushguys.com. There we go. Oh, I love that. See how subtle that is with 2 layers of black. Come on. I think I think my oh yeah, copper and gold together, gorgeous. Copper and gold is beautiful, and it makes such a beautiful background. I've done it with gold. I've also done it with copper and gold combined. They're beautiful. Oh, I love it. See, much more muted, very subtle. And it softens the edges of that design quite nicely. Somebody had suggested, well, couldn't you just do this with a darker gray over top? You can, but you will find that you're going to have very hard edges regardless. By putting that glaze over, it mutes things, but not evenly. So if you look closely, you've got areas where it's a little darker and then a little lighter. Some areas where it's a little brighter. It gives you a very subtle look. I will also say that this makes a fabulous background for Halloween pieces. It is gorgeous for a Halloween piece. Any brocade, something elaborate and elegant and over the top, done with this technique looks fantastic on a Halloween piece. Just saying. Now, one of the things that I like to age my edges just a little bit. In this particular case, I just want them to be a little darker at the outside edges than they are towards the center. So I'm going to use my big angle and I'm going to blend with I'm going to blot that brush. Just a little bit, a float of lamp black, mainly into the corners. I just like that deepness at the corners, a little bit at the edges. It does not have to be perfect. But that little float at those outside edges just gives the background a little more depth. And it's just a little, it doesn't have to be elaborate. There we go. So we're going to dry this really well, and then we're going to talk about transferring line drawings. Donna, go and enjoy. Get lots of good seafood. Thanks, Lori. Oh, I'd love to see that. The butterfly house. Please recommend a mop. My phone cut out, so I'm not sure if you answered me before. No, I did not answer you. Didn't see your question. I can recommend a really good mop. My favorite is this one. You can tell because it's pretty beat up. This one is my favorite. This is a Dynasty 5/8 from the 400 series, or what's affectionately known as the Decorator series. This one is a pony hair mop. It's a super soft one, works like a hot damn. I love these brushes. And I love them so much that I have them in about 10 different sizes. So this is my nice big one. This one is the 7/8, super soft, and it works so, so well. I have them in every size. There we go. So it is an elegant looking background, but as I said, it works so well for a variety of things. I love this one. There's an elegance to this. And I think that I like that juxtaposition between this rustic farmhouse, this rustic garden, watering can, and the dried leaves up against this more elegant finish. And I just like that. I just love that look. So in the pattern is your line drawing. You'll notice that the outside, there's an outside line on it. And that line actually fits this size. And I habitually cut out my line drawings. Simply because it makes it so much easier to connect things. So I have a tendency to make photocopies of my line drawing so that I'm not damaging my original. Hi, Anne. Debbie, how was our lobster feast? Oh my gosh, that lobster was so good. It had been so long since we'd had a really good feed. And yeah, ate a bit too much, of course. And then we had lobster the first night, and then we had lobster rolls the second night. It was ridiculous. And then I froze the rest and kept some shells and whatnot to make broth, and that will be next on my agenda. My husband wants me to make him some lobster bisque. Oh, Connie, I'm so excited about this Christmas project for next week. I've got about 4 different projects sitting on my table right now. I'm back into my usual groove where I have like 8 things on the go at once. The Christmas piece for next week is Christmas roses. I was trying to remember the proper name for a Christmas rose. There is a proper name. For the life of me, I can't remember what it is. So when I'm tracing, I like to use a red gel pen, and the one that I like is this one. It's a 0.38. It's a Uniball Signo. These are made by the same company that makes Posca pens. So just in case you're concerned about the quality of them, these are fantastic. I love them for tracing. And so I'm using a light to medium pressure. You're not curving into this. And when you're tracing this, you don't need to put all those little details in, like the vein lines in the center, because we're going to paint those in. And it's just a lot of tracing for something that you don't need to do and you're going to paint over anyway. So now I chose maple leaves. These are Empire maple leaves. I have one of these trees in my front lawn, which I absolutely love. It turns the most gorgeous red in the fall. It's a beautiful tree. I like this red pen for a couple of reasons. One, it makes your graphite lines very fine. And because of that, it makes it so much easier to remove them in the end. And it also, because it has that little firm stainless steel ball in there, it makes them very clear so that you're not getting these super thick lines. I like the clarity of it. And because the ink is red, I can see where I've been. So very often, when I'm just tracing with a stylus, I can't remember where I've been. I lose track constantly. And I find that the stylus is just too large. It leaves such a heavy line. And I prefer a finer one. Take your time with the details of this picture, of this watering can, so that lines are straight. Oh, look who's talking. And clean, and that you get them all. Now you might notice there's a series of little berries here. I left them out altogether. I put them in the line drawing, then decided that I just didn't like them, to be perfectly honest. I didn't like them there, so I just left them out of the finished piece. And I realized this morning that when I scanned in the line drawings for this piece, I scanned in the wrong line drawing. Linnea, this is a Dynasty. This is a Uniball Signo. A hellebore. Thank you, Deborah. That is exactly what it is. It's hellebore. Beautiful, beautiful flower. I'm not sure why it got the name the Christmas rose, but it's such a beautiful flower. There we are. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, just for the heck of it, Helleborus niger, yes. It is a mouthful. And there's so many different kinds. They come, Barbara Keys, you need the limoncello? Oh, okay. I can put that on the website. I'm going to be adding about 3 or 4 recipes to the website. Canning season is coming. Well, it's actually started. I've already started doing a few things. So I've been getting my jars and everything ready. I picked up a ton of green beans the other day. One of the markets had them. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow is I'm canning a bunch of green beans. I did all the ones from the garden last year, and they're so good. They turned out so good. So this year, I'm going to do some more, but I got these at the local market, and they were just, so inexpensive and so good. They were just beautiful. So I got a bunch. So I need to move my graphite paper before I run out of... There you are. Little Dickens. There. Didn't quite have enough to go to the bottom. Oh, okay, Sandy. Thank you. I wasn't quite sure where the hellebore, where it was native to. I've never seen them here, so, but then again, there's a lot of things that don't bloom here. I planted dahlias early in the spring, and my daughter and I have been impatiently waiting for them to come up. And they took their sweet time, but they finally... No, Robin, I haven't used my pressure canner yet. That's coming. Like I said, canning season is almost here. So I'm just beyond excited to use my pressure canner. It will probably alleviate some of the work, I'm thinking. I know my water bath canner, I use that for jams, jellies, and some vegetables and soups and sauces and things like that. But I wanted the pressure canner so that I could preserve things like my homemade meat sauce and things like that. So I'm excited. So I'm just quickly tracing my little chickadee. Chickadees are a common bird here for us all year round. We have the little buggers everywhere. And so they have a tendency to pop up in my painting from time to time because oh, that was brilliant, Trace. Just brilliant. I moved the graphite down and forgot that the upper half of the bird wasn't on the graphite, so let's do that again. Remember what I said about the lights being on? Yeah. Okay, let's see if that worked. Yeah, a little bit. Honestly. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, that's better. So just the lettering and this one little leaf left to go. Oh, I know. Oh my goodness. Hi, Rosalind. Oh, the chickadees, they're just so stinking cute. We have Right now, we are inundated with woodpeckers. We have lots of woodpeckers in the area. We have two different types. We have the great big fellas, and then we have these little itty bitty guys that are just so stinking cute. We have what I call the tuxedo birds. Those are the little juncos. I just love those little fellas. And of course, we get blue jays all year round. I love blue jays. We do get crows, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked at the crows. They're so smart, it's scary. So we have the crows, and then we've got these little yellow finches right now that are just, oh, they're so adorable. And I love the way they hang off the side of the house, and they're eating those little flies, whatever they are. We call them no-see-ums, what have you. They're little tiny flies that get caught in the spider's webs, and they land on the side of the house and pick them out of the web. It's like the snack bar. But they're so cute. So I've just got that one leaf down at the bottom here. Now we do have a tabletop in this. And someone asked me why I didn't, just make a separate one. I kind of like the implication that there's just sort of an implied tabletop as opposed to just painting a heavy piece down at the bottom. Rosalind, thank you. That's very nice. Let's see. Oh, my garden has been absolutely insane this year. Mainly because I just realized I missed a spot. We've had so much rain, but we've also had a lot of sunshine. And so my lettuce bolted. So I've got that under control. And then my radishes bolted as well. I cut the tops off of, the bolt. I cut the bolt off. And now I'm getting nice fat radishes. Before they were just a pink root. Now I'm getting nice fat radishes. My Swiss chard has lost its mind, which I'm excited about because I love Swiss chard. But it has completely lost its mind. So we're going to put a tabletop, sort of. I'm going to come up about 4 centimeters. For those of you in the States, that's about 2 or 1 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to put a little notch there and a little notch there. And then I'm going to put a short little line like this here and here. It's not a perfect tabletop, but it's just going to imply it. So our line drawing is complete. All the ugly, you notice my notes. Okay, somebody asked me this question earlier. So just to give you an idea of what kind of mayhem is in the studio when I'm designing. This is notes to self about colors that I chose and where I put them. I always designate a spot for them and how I use them. So in this case, leaf 1 and 2, leaf 6, just notes to self. And then I will very often just number things accordingly so that I have that in the back of my mind. So when I'm writing instructions, I know what I used and I don't forget anything. So there we go. I'm going to give us a clean palette. And this is going to be a busy one for us. It's going to be a long one. So we're going to start with a little bit of warm white. Nope, that's not warm white. This is warm white. Oh, goodness. Okay. Ever have one of those days where my paint has plugged itself? There we go. I go to open a bottle of paint and nothing happens. Oh yeah, I love juncos. Crows are incredibly intelligent, like freakishly so. All right, so we're going to get started on this one, and I always like doing this thing first because it just makes this piece come to life. So I'm going to use a nice big round. I'm using a number 5, and we're going to thin out a little bit of warm white. There we go. There we are. Okay, so now you can see what I'm doing. I'm just thinning this out a little. I don't want it thick. So I'm going to just quickly, doesn't have to be perfect, so don't knock yourself out over it. We're just going to quickly put a little bit of white down. Now, the reason that I do this is simply to prevent all of that black from influencing that Williamsburg blue that we're going to put down. If I didn't do this, the Williamsburg blue would tend to flatten out a little bit because of the black. It would be influenced, even though you're covering it up, it would still be influenced by all that black. And so I prefer to put a little bit of white down on here in all of those larger areas. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be opaque. It's just enough to sort of block the black. That's all we're doing. So fill in those larger areas. I'm not so much worried with the small horizontal pieces because we're going to be lightening that color anyway. So, but this little bit of white will make a huge, oh, I did miss a little piece. Oh, it's there, but I guess I didn't press hard enough. There we go. Little chalk pencil fixes everything. Thank you for that. So there's that little bit of warm white. I'm going to do the same thing to our part here. That spout. So you can see that this is not neat and tidy. This is not perfect. It doesn't need to be. We're just interfering with all of that black. That's all we're doing. And it does make a huge difference in the end. You could use a gesso for this if you didn't want to use paint. You could absolutely use gesso. I've just found that a little bit of warm white does just as well. I do love my gesso though, don't get me wrong. So all of those open areas get a little bit of warm white. We're also going to do the same thing to the leaves. All of these leaves. Because we're using colors like reds and bright yellows, colors that are going to be easily influenced by that black underneath. So we're going to put just a thin coat of warm white on our leaves. Doesn't have to be much. There we go. Preparation is 90% of what you're going to do. And I know this sounds really, really corny, but the best finish that you're going to get is the one you're working over. So quite honestly, if you're working on a surface that is rough and you don't take the time to smooth it out to give yourself the best possible surface to work on, your end piece is going to look that way. It's going to look rough. So this little bit of prep, this giving that light sanding after you've stenciled, that light wash of white that you put over some of these finished areas just to prevent the black from influencing the other colors, makes all the difference in the world to how your finished artwork is going to turn out. So as frustrating and as boring as it can be, believe me, I get it. I am the one that loves just the painting part. So the prep has never been my favorite thing, getting my surface ready and whatnot. However, I do know that those things are very important to the end result. So you want a really beautiful finished piece, you have to do the prep. And it's boring. I always want to get to the fun stuff. Oh, my chalk pencil, best thing ever. It is such a great tool. Saves you so much time. I absolutely detest having to put my line drawing back on, line it all up, do all of that. That just drives me crazy. I don't like it, and I will do anything to avoid doing it. And that includes using a chalk pencil. Yeah, I'm with you, Loretta. I am all about the color. I love my color. But on the upside, doing this little bit of prep ahead of time, getting in this little bit of white, it means that all of that color is going to look spectacular. We're going to get that nice bright yellow, that nice bright orange, that gorgeous rich red. We're going to see all of that. Hi, Giz. What's the matter, old timer? Gizmo is our senior citizen. And he likes to tell the world what's on his mind. So there we are. Almost got that last leaf done. Of course, the green one is the one that's tucked in and away from everything. And then we've got a stem here and here. There we go. And I'll come down here. And there's a method to my madness, and I will put all of this white in. And of course, there's always going to be a little bit of white left on the palette, so we're going to put that to use and give ourselves a nice little background and establish that tabletop. So there we go. We've got our leaves, got a nice little priming. Everything's got a nice layer of that thinned warm white. I'm going to dry that. Some people find the prep relaxing. I am not one of them. Ramona, Mr. Giz likes to sing the song of his people. That's what we call it. He comes down the stairs singing the song of his people. Oops. I just knocked my tape off the table. Okay. There, and then I think that's good. I think we're good. Oof. There. La, la. Yeah, I am doing the handle and the watering can. It's just in behind those leaves. There we go. Aw, I'm so sorry. Gizmo's our senior citizen. Ari is, Maze is the baby in the family. Ari is the younger one. So I'm going to take an angled shader. I'm using a 1/2 inch. Hello, Debbie. So I'm going to take a little bit of that thinned warm white on an angled shader, heavily thinned. And it's not like you're going to float it, it's just get the brush full of just this wishy-washy warm white. So here is that tabletop in here. I like to take my wishy-washy and just sort of slap a little bit of white back there. Just a little, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I like having a little texture in it. We're just softening and warming up that background. Just a little. It doesn't need to be much. Like so. So it's going to be watery and a little slip-slappy. That's okay. So when you dry it, you're going to end up with sort of a light textured highlight back there. There we go. Super simple. That's it. Don't mess with it. Although it would help if it was straight. Good God. There we go. There we go. Hi, Carol. So, now that we've got all of that done, I'm going to make sure this is really dry. We're going to use this vintage color. This is a really old decor color. It's been around for years. And it's one that's kind of sort of sat in the background for the longest time. Nobody did anything with it. It's a great color. It's a nice, cool blue-gray. Beautiful tone. And we're going to use it to paint our watering can. Hi, Lil Beth. So at this point, you should see what I was talking about. So we have one coat of that gorgeous blue over top of that white. If I didn't put that white down, that blue would tend to get darker streaks in it. And you would require a second coat just to get rid of that black peeking through. I love this color. I chose the blue instead of just a gray. I think that this blue just has a really nice vintage look to it. And gray is boring. Oh, it can be. I shouldn't say it is. It can be boring. And using the blue kind of opened up the ability to use a wide range of colors, which meant that I could use all of its compatible tones. So all of its complementary colors. So if I look at painting something that was gray, you can put a lot of things with gray, but they tend to get very mousy and a little subdued when they're paired up against a gray. When you use something with a little bit of blue in it, it complements those yellows, those reds, those oranges really nicely because they're complementary colors. And so it shows them off to great advantage and allows you to use much more vivid color than perhaps you would originally have thought to use. And I'm a fan. I love a blue, especially like Bahama blue is one of my favorite tones. And it's fabulous with all of these gorgeous reds and yellows, but a bit more tropical in tone. I wanted something that was going to complement the more vintage tones, and that's why I chose this more vintage tone of blue. So it looks really nice with all of those gorgeous oranges and yellows. And that rich country red. I love country red. Hi, Brenda. Oh my goodness. The pattern is always available on my website. We try to have them available prior to the class. Sometimes I'm not. All depends on how busy I am, but it's always on the front page of my website, right on the home page. All you have to do is scroll down, you'll find it there. And the video, you have access to the video anytime you like after the live. It is on my YouTube channel. I also, when I'm base coating, I use a little bit of that Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze in my paint. So if you're wondering why it goes on so smoothly, that's why. It's also why I don't get a whole lot of brush marks or heavy textures in my paint, because this helps to smooth them out very nicely. And it's a great color. Little bit of Joe Sonia's goes a long way. It makes for a very nice smooth base coat. And we're going to put a little of that in here as well. Et voila. Brenda, you can join us whenever you like. Now, I do paint very fast. I have the advantage because one, I designed it, and two, I've already painted it at least twice. I have painted this one twice already. So, what a great color. I love this color. So we're going to work the watering can first. And this part is so much fun. I mix it directly with my paint when I'm base coating. Just a little bit, just dress the brush in it. Just much the same as you would with water. Brenda, if you go to my website and register for my weekly email, we usually have the links to the Saturday class in the email. And there's always something fun in there too. So that way you get notified about what's coming up. Next week is Christmas. We're going to be doing Christmas rose in a stone crock. Kind of obsessed with crockery right now. Crock pitcher, actually. Old-fashioned type. I have a couple of pieces of old crockery that I just love. And I love the way the glaze is very irregular. It does some really cool things. So now, no watering can in the garden. Yeah. Deanna, every time I load my brush, instead of dressing it in water like most people do, I rinse my brush in water, but I dress my brush in Joe Sonia. And so when I'm thinning paint or base coating or floating, shading, highlighting, all of that, my brush is not filled with water, but filled with glaze. Oops. So the color I'm using is called Red Spice. I love this one. It's not as dark and heavy as a burnt sienna. It it's nicely transparent and it works really nicely with this blue. Love this color. So we're going to use, I'm going to use a 3/8 angled shader. I'm using a black gold 3/8 angled shader. Debbie, I buy all kinds of different teas. I have to try them all. So when I find some that I really like, I get to share. So I'm going to add a float to the areas underneath those lines. Now, when I'm floating it, you'll notice I'm pulling down on the brush a little and then float up underneath it and then let it travel. So this is the result. It's a float, but it's not a pretty one, if you get my... So I love this color because this is going to be our rust. And I like pulling it up underneath. Let it be a little transparent. Just don't let it be too tiny. So you can put as much or as little of this on as you like. On this one, on the finished piece, you'll notice I really dark at the tops. You can be as heavy-handed as you want with this. If you want this pot really, really rusty, then by all means go ahead and make it as rusty as you want. That's the fun part of this. I kind of like the open areas. I like to have some where it's a little on the tight side. I like it darker in some places, a little less so in others. It's just fun. And use that whole chisel edge of the brush. Don't be afraid to use the chisel edge. Get that whole thing on the surface. And tuck some color in. Don't be shy. I love this. If you want to walk it up and make it a little bigger in areas, go ahead. If you want that patch to be bigger in general, just walk it up there. Get it darker down at the edges. It can be as bright or as light as you choose. That is entirely up to you. And it's a fun way to create something completely yours. Just think about how watering can is used and where the water would be. It isn't the application so much that makes the rust look real. It's more where it's put. Not how it's put, but where it's put. I think when you keep in mind how a watering can is used or how water works when it runs off of something, you're going to end up with a much more realistic look than if you just arbitrarily put rust wherever. So in a case like this, water would run off the top and it might collect underneath those little ridges. No, I know exactly what you mean, Kathy. I have a plastic watering can and I don't like it, but it works. I'd love to get an old-fashioned aluminum one, but they're hard to find. The old metal ones are just few and far between, I'm afraid. So when you're doing this, keep in mind water runs down that spout. So you should have a little patch of it along the edge of that spout. And if it runs down, well, then it's going to collect down here at the bottom of the spout. So it needs a little bit there too. And the same underneath here. just a little bit. Like that. Let it run down a little. And the same here. Underneath that. That. And then, of course, there's a little bit that runs down here, too. So I think that that's primarily what makes the watering can look a bit more authentic, is that kind of kept in mind how water moves on certain surfaces. Oh, they are. Now, I don't like the plastic one at all. Huh. If you're in Canada and you're looking for Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze, check out Country Bear Wood. Here we are. Love it. So there we have, look at our rust. We've got rust everywhere.
How we doing?
Not too bad.
Doing a rusty watering can.
We are, just like that one.
And that one?
And that one, yes. That would be the one. So we've got all of that rust in there. And keep, as I said, keep in mind how water moves down a surface and where it would collect, where it would cause rust. Always makes things look a little bit more realistic when you get that right. I'm going to bring a little inside the handle. Because let's face it, some would run in there too. There we go. So I'm going to dry this really well. And you can come back and do this again at a little later if you want to brighten it or deepen it in places. So, still looking a little sketchy. I loved it. Working on metal cans, I loved it. There we go. So we have our Williamsburg blue. We're going to lighten that a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of gray sky instead of white. I don't want to make this bright blue. I want to tone this out a little bit. So I'm going to take a rigger, if I can find one. There we go. I'm using a number 2, I think it is. No, it's not. It's a 0. Good grief. And we're going to take a little Joe Sonia's. We're going to thin out some of that Williamsburg. And we're going to add just a touch of that gray sky to it. We're just going to change the value of it a little bit. And this is going to be the color that we use for all of the ridges on our can. So essentially we're just lightening it a little bit. If using a white would have made it more blue. There's Julie. Hello, sweetie. I will be honest, when it comes to growing anything in the house, I have a brown thumb. Because the way I see it is inside the house, Mother Nature has no access to correct any of the errors that I make. So I don't have houseplants at all. But if it's outside, I don't have any trouble with it. I grow all sorts of things outside, but nothing inside. Okay. So, but when it comes to being inside the house, I have a brown thumb. And when it's outside in the sunshine, it turns green. Hi, Heidi. And Mickey, hello. My mother had the gift of growing things. She could grow anything, indoors or out. The inside of her house was like a jungle. She had plants everywhere. And the outside of her house had gardens and flower beds all over the place. So, I, however, did not inherit that gift. Just saying. I can grow stuff and I can cook, but I do not have that gift that some people have with houseplants. My niece Mylène, on the other hand, she has a veritable jungle in her home and can grow almost anything inside the house. Whereas, I mean, you give me one of those air plants, I'll kill it. I cannot grow anything inside my house. Karen knows this. But if it's outside, no problem. My planters this year have just lost their minds. I have petunias and geraniums, and they are all thriving. And my roses are thriving, and all my flower beds are just amazing this year. My hydrangeas are incredible. We've had so much moisture and then so much warmth. The absolutely incredible color of those hydrangeas is just astonishing to me. I have one hydrangea at the front of the property. It's in the southwest corner of the property. And people that are walking down the street stop and look at it because it is just immense. The flowers on it are absolutely immense. They're the size of basketballs. And just the prettiest green white. So, our flower gift. What is a zamlocula? I couldn't even pronounce that. I don't do houseplants. I can grow anything outside, but not inside. So we're almost at the point. Here we are. Ooh, I'm loving this. So I'm going to lighten this a little bit for that leading edge on that line. And then I'll go back to that original mix. Yeah, that's me. I would prefer to cut flowers and bring them in. I don't have houseplants. I don't have houseplants because I have cats, dogs, and a very short attention span when it comes to cat plants. So there is all of the trim on our watering can, and all I've done is just lighten the value of the Williamsburg blue just a little. I didn't want to make it really bright, but I needed to lighten it just a little bit for those edges, whatnot. Voila. Now, I'm going to make a slightly lighter value. Again, I'm going to make this one a little lighter than the color that we used in the center or on those ridges. I'm going to make that. And that is going to be the color of the spout, the opening for the spout. Just like so. Now, the fun part about this watering can design is that it's pretty versatile. I've been having fun with it, playing with variations on the same theme. I also discovered there's a million different kinds of watering cans. I liked this one with this little lip across. I liked the other one because of all of the extra bands that was on it. I just think it's a neat one. So I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to start detailing this watering can. The watering can, I think, is the part that takes the longest. Once the leaves and everything, they go very quickly. Oh, I can't seem to kill them. I have several. I bought a little one. You know, they have the clearance. Oh, there's a skill I don't have, is growing orchids. Oh, gorgeous. My hydrangea, I have 3 in the big flower beds up front. And then I have this great monstrous one in the other corner of the property. I have a pinkish red one, or like a pink to purple one. And then I have this blue one that my husband pruned back 2 years ago. And this year it is absolutely loaded with flowers. But it's taken 2 years to bloom because he cut it too soon. Okay, so we're going to use that 1-inch angled shader. And this color, this is deep midnight blue. This is our shading color for our watering can. I love this color. And we want to create a nice deep shadow on this side here and underneath these leaves using that deep midnight blue. So we're going to create a shadow. It's going to be 1/3 of the way on this side, 1/3 of the way on that side. So that we're going to have a light area right about here in the center. Again, we're floating. The brush is dressed with a little bit of glaze. And we're going to go right over top of that orange. Don't panic. It's going to be fine. That little bit of blue does some nifty things to that orange. So there we go. We're at about the 1/3. It is not a perfect float. It doesn't need to be. Because you are going to walk it a bit. We want this color to come out a bit. See how it's kind of muddy right there. The top 2 worked really well, but the big one in the middle didn't. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to bring a little more of that blue. There we are. That's better. So we're just walking that blue out to about the 1/3. There we go. And do the same here. There. So we've got a nice deep shadow on that side. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And it's leaving that 1/3 area in the middle that is going to be important. And don't worry, you're going to go over top of that rust. With that dark blue, it's still going to look like rust. There we go. I like that blue over top of that red spice. You notice, it just makes it a little deeper, a little darker, but it doesn't change the fact that it still looks like rust. And we're going to put some on the top of this. I want to keep it darkest on this side because it's the side that's furthest away from the light source. So nice little shadow there. Bring it along so that that blue goes over top of that. There we are. I like it. And again, nice shadow down this side. This is, hey, Elizabeth. Oh, wow. I love orchids, but I am not an indoor plant person. I'm always impressed when I see what other people do with houseplants, but not me. My mother had so many, it was crazy. There was not a room in our house that didn't have plants in it. Hi, Kathy. It's Kathy Huff. There we go. Okay, so I've got a pretty good shadow. Pretty nice little shading. There's one thing. I need to do the handle in there, so I need to get down inside the handle right there. And I walk that color up, but I'm also going to get up underneath that leaf and put a little in there. There we go. Now you can see that these are not perfect floats by any stretch. Good morning. I haven't had deer in the garden. We have had a marmot that hovers around here, the odd skunk. Occasionally, we get the odd raccoon gets into the garden, but not very often. They're usually busy with other things. So there we go. We've got that nice little pot. We're going to use a little bit of asphaltum next. I had to open a new bottle of asphaltum. So we're going to add a little more depth to this. I'm a firm believer. Layers make depth. Layers make depth. So I'm going to use a little bit of thinned asphaltum. You don't want this color full strength because it gets a little much, if you know what I mean. But going over that blue just ages it a little bit. And it also ages the pot itself just a little. And I like it thinned. It changes the look of this quite a lot without being heavy. So it makes the rusts look a bit more rustic. It makes all of the colors, tones them nicely. Especially the rusts. I love using a little bit of thinned asphaltum over anything with a rusty tone. It just gives everything a really nice aged appearance without being heavy-handed. So I'm going to get underneath there. Age that rust a little more. You see how that rust all of a sudden takes on a little bit more life? We put all that blue on and it looked a little subdued, but then we come back in with all of that asphaltum and now all of the rust looks a bit more lively. And I do love, look at that. I do love my asphaltum. Okay. I'm getting happy. I'm getting happy. So we're hitting down the end of the line for this can. So this is a fun project, Carol. A new bottle of asphaltum, yeah. I'm going to show you guys this is what I keep my Joe Sonias in. I have one of these little spice jars, and I keep it next to my palette. It's actually right next to the camera by the palette, so that I can dip into it whenever I want. I just like having it handy. So I'm going to remember our Williamsburg blue and our little bit of gray sky. We're going to make a lighter value still of that blue gray. And we're going to put a stroke of it right here in that 1/3 section that I talked about, towards the center, not really the center, but kind of the center of the watering can. It does not have to be a perfect base coat. It doesn't have to be. Don't worry. So there's our little bit on there. I'm going to use a little bit of that here as well. A little bit here. We're going to put a little of that on all of these trim. And it's just a little, but it's going to make a huge difference in this. And once it's in, you're going to take that and add a little more of that gray to it to make it a little lighter still. And the next one's going to be a little smaller and in the same place. So towards the center of that first stroke that we put on. And it's not neat and tidy. It's just a stroke. Doesn't have to be perfect. Oops. Does not have to be perfect. And then again, we're going to make it more light gray than even blue. So then the next one is going to be a little more solid, and in again a little shorter and in the center of that first highlight. Little shorter, little smaller. The stencil that I used for the background in this one is called Baroque Background, and you'll find it in the new stencil section on my website. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to add a brighter highlight to this piece. We're going to use the stencil brush, believe it or not. So I have a little 3/8 stencil brush. 1/4 will do it just fine. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on my stencil brush, and I'm going to blot it on a piece of paper towel or shop towel. And when you're putting a highlight in, always think about the shape of the thing that you're doing. This one is curved. So I'm going to apply my highlight following the curve of this watering can, and that highlight goes in that center third. Remember that center third in the middle of it. Blot, blot, blot. Going to do the same thing here. It's a very light application. It's a dry brush. And that dry brush highlight goes right over top of everything because it's light hitting it. There we go. And the same here. Don't forget this one. It's curved, so it followed the curve. So your brightest highlight is going to be the shortest stroke, and it's right in the center. Always keep in mind the shape of the piece that you're painting when you're doing this. It's curved, so that highlight needs to be curved. And we also have a highlight here. Oh, you mean raisin rice. Raisin rice is delicious. If you're looking for something different as a side, especially if you have something that is, we usually serve it with things with a lot of herbs and spices, something that is very savory. It acts as a really nice contrast to it. I usually use it with Greek foods and heavily seasoned steak and, things like that. But raisin rice is a really nice change. And it's simple. So if you're going to make 2 cups of rice, if you're getting ready to cook 2 cups of rice, put all your water into the pot. And then instead of adding salt to it, as you normally would, you're going to put half a teaspoon of cinnamon into the water and then bring it to the boil. Bring it to a nice boil. Add 1 cup of raisins. And just wait until the raisins get plump. Then add your rice. And then cook your rice as usual. Put a lid on it. Let it boil for a little bit. Shut the heat off. Set it off to the side. It's a very light, very refreshing, and very flavorful way to cook rice. And I do it with balsamic rice. I've done it with even Uncle Ben's, even minute rice. The trick is just to cook those raisins for a little bit beforehand and put a little cinnamon in your water. So there we go. We've got a nice little highlight on our watering can. I think it looks pretty good. So our next step for this watering can is we have to make it look textured. So I need to put a little shadow on the opening here. I'm using a little bit of that thinned midnight blue in here. I'm going to dry it. And this is the fun part. We don't want to have like perfect little round dots in there. It's such a nice change from, super salty, from a lot of savory dishes. And it works really well with chicken. It works well with a variety of things. But yeah, it's called raisin rice. So we're going to use a little bit of that thin asphaltum to deepen this. I'm going to dry it, but I'm not going to get rid of the brush. So we're going to put a series of little strokes like so. Just offset them a little bit. It's tiny little floats. It's just going to create some little dots like so. And just make them smaller as they go away from you. Et voila. Yeah, just a tiny little bit of raisin rice. You don't need any sugar. You don't need anything. The raisins will give you all of the flavor you need. It makes for a very nice change to basic rice. And it's delicious. So I'm going to, now that I've got all of those highlights in, I'm going to add a little brightening highlight to a few areas. I like to put mine at the top edge, right in the center of that highlighted area. It's just a thin line of warm white or titanium white. If you've got titanium white handy, that will work. But see, that thin line makes such a difference to how these highlights stand up. And it's just a thin line. It doesn't need to be a heavy application, but it's what brings the eye towards those highlights. Just that little bit. And I love a little bit of it here. And don't forget a little bit, just a touch of it on a few of those dots that are in there, just to highlight the edges of them a little. So, love that little bit of a highlight. And there's your watering can. So we're going to distress the watering can a little bit And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab my itty bitty fugly brush. This is my little 1-inch. And I'm going to thin out a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to spatter the watering can with a little bit of asphaltum. And I like to put it everywhere. I'm just kind of focusing on the watering can for the time being. And then I'm going to take a little bit of warm white as well. And just a light spattering. Try to focus it just on the watering can. There we go. So there's our watering can. It has nice texture. It looks like it's a little pitted, a little dented. It's awesome. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to work on some leaves. Now, there's a lot of graphite lines still showing, so when we're finished with all of this, we'll go around and clean up a few of those graphite lines, and it will make things look a little bit better. And as I said, if at any point there's something that you need to adjust, and which we'll do at a later date once we're finished with everything, we can adjust things so that the watering can falls into the same tonal range and everything balances nicely. But for now, we've got all the essentials done on our watering can. So we're going to tackle these leaves. And again, remember what I said about using white to base a few things. We're going to use Sunset Gold. Here's our first color. That's that gorgeous yellow. I love this color. And this is going to be the color we use for 2 of these maple leaves. So I love the tone of this. And remember what I said, we're only going to use 1 coat of these colors over top of all of this white. It's not going to be a perfect base coat. We're going to see a lot of things through it. That's okay, because we have about 5 different colors to put over top of all of it. We just used that little bit of white to reduce how much that black influences the yellow. I love this color. Sunset Gold is just such a beautiful yellow. And it works so well. Isn't that a pretty blue? That's that Williamsburg blue. There is another one that's very similar. It's just a little bit lighter called Colonial Blue, which is also gorgeous. And it is great for winter projects because it's just that cold looking cool blue. Love it. It is such a great blue for a lot of different things. Okay, so we've got yellow there. And this little one down here is also, oops. Okay, that wasn't so smart, but here we go. Love this yellow. Hey, Mary. Mary Galliato. Cindy, this one is surprisingly easy to paint. There's just a lot of steps. I think that's what usually intimidates a lot of painters, is that they'll look at it and think, there's no way I can do that. Sure you can. It's just the steps. We always look at the finished piece and assume that, you know, I have no idea how they got to that point. And so you intimidate yourself out of it right off the bat. So instead of looking at a piece as a finished whole, start looking at pieces and break them down. look at them and wonder, well, how did they get to that point? Well, that's a float. This is a highlight. And how did she get that texture? It's just a matter of breaking things down a lot of the time. Things become a lot less intimidating when you break them down into individual steps. So you'll note they're not perfect base coats. They're not even fully opaque. They're like brush mark laden and imperfect. So we have two leaves that are country red. This one and this one. I love country red. It's my favorite red. I use it a lot. Okay, some of you girls are missing your paintbrushes. That could simply be the update. We've had some weird things happening with YouTube. So we've got two leaves that are country red. Again, we're using that white to mitigate the influence that the black has on our red. Country red is such a great color. Have I ever thought about using gunmetal? I have actually. The only downside is that metallics, and gunmetal is a metallic. I don't particularly care for them for certain things. I prefer them as accents and things like that. Using a metallic to imitate a metallic is sometimes a little iffy. And gunmetal is notoriously hard to cover. And it takes a lot of coats to get good coverage with the metallics. So I tend to avoid them for classes and whatnot for that purpose. So there we are. Look at that country red. See what I mean about that? Getting rid of that that gunmetal look, or not gunmetal, that influence of that black. God, now I've got gunmetal on my brain. I love the color. I love the metallic, but I find metallics are problematic to a certain degree. So I use them sparingly. I have used them in faux finishes. I've used gunmetal for faux finishes, but again, you're also using them in a different fashion, so. Here we are. So tonight's menu is lemon chicken Caesar. So I'm going to grill my lemon chicken. It's been marinating since yesterday. Put it on last night. Lemon chicken is so yummy on a Caesar. And you need a bright red to really pop this. Now I'm using a little bit of burnt orange. I know, you look at this in the finished piece, it does not look like this color, quite honestly. But I do love burnt orange. I love this color. It's one of my favorite oranges. I think it's because it has a very subdued tone. It's not an over-the-top Halloween type orange, I think. The downside to it is it's quite transparent, so it doesn't cover very well, but it's just such a lush, rich tone. And I wanted it because it actually picks up that. Oh, the blue I used is a very old color. It's Williamsburg. It's been around for years. So there we are. And again, I am not overly concerned with whether or not... Oh, the lemon chicken is very easy to do. You need freshly ground black pepper. You need some fresh lemon zest and 2 or 3 lemons and some salt and pepper. That's it. It's an easy recipe to do, but it's just delicious when you do a Caesar with it. So there's our orange. The last color we're going to put in is that lush green. I love this color. Lush green, I think this color came out last year, and I still think it's one of my favorite greens ever. And I used antique green all the time. I love antique green. And I found myself using this one just as frequently because I just love the tone of it. Again, it falls into that sort of vintage feel for me, so it's a great green. The other nice thing is it covers pretty well. So there we are. And it's the one leaf that doesn't, that's still carrying some of that early fall color, a little bit of that green. So I think it was needed in here. So there we go. What do I use? I use a couple of the juice from 2 lemons. I use about a tablespoon of cracked black pepper, freshly ground black pepper, and about a teaspoon, half teaspoon of salt, and I use sea salt. I don't use iodized salt. And then you need probably about 1/8 of a cup to 1/4 cup of cold water. I like a little bit of olive oil, so, a couple of good tablespoons of olive oil. Throw all of that together. If you've got a little bit of fresh parsley, throw that in there. And of course, I put some fresh garlic in. And then I pierce the chicken breasts. I use a really sharp point blade, just lots of little tiny pierces through the chicken breast. Or you can fillet them. I like filleting them so they're nice and thin. And then put them in the marinade, cover them, put them in the fridge. Throw them in a Ziploc bag is the best because then you can squeeze out the air. And then everything gets that. And then just turn it, leave it in there for a couple of hours, turn it, leave it in for another couple of hours. And then when you're ready to grill them, take them out. I keep my marinade. I take the chicken directly out of the marinade and to put on the grill. And then as they're cooking, I will brush them with some of the marinade. But you need that fresh cracked black pepper. It's delicious. So, let's talk about leaves. I'm going to be using a 3/8 angle shader to do my shading in this. I can just show you a nifty way. I'm going to use my chalk pencil because I found... What color will the bird be? Well, the bird is mostly white cobblestone, which is that gray that we used in the background. And we're using a little bit of salted caramel and lamp black. Simple little bird. A little bit of asphaltum, of course. So I'm going to use my chalk pencil. I like to put my lines in. Now, our leaf has major veins that come off the center, but they come out. I usually think of them as going to those points. Right, that. Right? And that's essentially how I think of the veins in leaves. So, same here. Notice the curve. Tips out that way. Follow that curve. There we go. So those are the lines that we're going to use to create all of the shading in our leaves. So just like that. Same with this little guy back here. we go. So I'm using a little bit of country red mixed with a little bit of lamp black to shade those flowers. And I'm using plantation pine or black green. Either one will work just fine for shading our green leaf. So we're going to start with the leaf that's furthest away from us. And I'm using, have a look at how the direction that the leaf moves. Just like that. There we are. So it's also your shading color underneath the other leaves, but we'll put that in a minute. Again, they don't have to be perfect. What was the name of the chalk pencil I'm using? It's actually a dressmaker's pencil. These ones are from France. It's called Bohin. You can find them in almost any fabric store and online. They have them available online at Amazon. I love this pencil. I don't use it often, but I'll tell you when I do need it, it is just the best thing since cookies. And it's an easy one to refill. You just press on the top and you could slide in the newest one. I think I've changed my leads in this about once a year. For making little things like this, it's just the answer. It is such a great little tool to have on hand. So I've got my shading on the center vein done. I am going to shade underneath my leaves with the same color, just a little. Oh goodness, dropped my brush. I like having that little shadow in there. Now it may not look like much yet, but watch what happens when we start highlighting this leaf. The highlight color I'm using, which is, I think, oh, you're welcome, Mary. I think everybody knows this is my favorite green highlight. I love Margarita. I love a margarita, but I love the green better. So opposite the shading that you just put in, you're going to put a float. Okay, it would help if I actually had more paint than water. There we go. Going to put a float of that green on the highlight side opposite the shading. There we go. It does not need to be absolutely perfect. Very few things are in this life. There we go. So, look at our leaf. Now, one of the things that I put in this pattern that I really love for any fall project is those neons. Look at these. I love these. I use the torrid orange for the orange and the reds because I just love that punch. I used that thermal green for the green one in there. And I used that scorching yellow for those two yellow ones here. And I did pull a little into the red. You'll see what happens when we do that. So I've got my green highlight in. I'm going to bring in a little bit of that neon. I love the neons. And you don't need a ton of it. I find there's a fine line between lots and a little, or too much and a little. So I'm just going to use a small amount and blend it out. And this is for me, I love this effect. Wherever the margarita was, it acts like a base coat for that thermal green. And look at how vibrant that highlight gets. I love this. And bring it up onto the edges a little. Let it float down over top of the shading and whatnot, but you get this gorgeous, rich tone out of the highlights, and look at that. Get that nice vibrancy. I just love this. And we're going to use that same process with all of these leaves. So for that yellow, I just love this. I think this is so fun. So for the yellow, we're going to use some of that burnt orange for our shading color. So I'm going to blend that out a little bit. I don't want it so heavy, but this is our shading color for these leaves. So wherever those veins are, there's the shading color, that gorgeous orange. Same here. And yes, these leaves are not perfect. Oops, daisy. I don't worry too much about those things, quite honestly, because we're putting so many colors on. Look at that. So there's our shading for those yellow leaves. For this orange one, I'm going to use a little bit of country red. So we're going to use that little bit of country red to shade our orange leaf. Don't panic. It's going to look orange by the time we're done, I promise. Look at that. Ta-da! So yeah, it looks a little bit messy. That's okay. It won't when we're done. And on the country red, we're going to use country red, and we're going to bring in a little bit of lamp black because I want to deepen the red just a little. I mean, you can use soft black, but that would be introducing yet another color to your palette, and you don't need to. What color is the orange? The orange is burnt orange. There we go. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm making a very dark red out of the country red. So out to the point. There we go. Oh, Lucinda, what's for dinner? We're having lemon chicken Caesars. Last night I did pizza on the grill, on the smoker. And tonight we're having lemon chicken Caesars. Okay. So there is the shading on our leaves. Oh, peach cobbler. Yum. 'Tis the season. Okay, so we have a whole series of very messy looking floats. Look at that. Right? Quite the travesty. They're not perfect, and that's okay. I am going to take a little asphaltum and thin it out, and we're going to deepen the shading on our yellow with a little bit of asphaltum. Ta-da! Always makes such a difference when you tone things, and I tend to like to tone everything, and those little tones make all the difference in the world. And I'm going to tone the orange one as well. I love what a little toning does for things. Just gives it a little extra depth. Here we go. So now we've got that darker shading. Our black one doesn't really need it. Oh, yeah, it is good. Will there, you know what? I'm going, Karen, you're way ahead of me. I'm actually have one, working on one with holly leaves and Christmas roses, hellebore. I've got a few. I love this watering can thing. It just does wonders for me. Okay, so we have all of our shading done on these leaves. They all look really rough. That's all right. So we have this red one. I've got a little bit of orange flame. This is one of our highlight colors for these leaves. So watch our leaf. I've got a float of orange flame over top of this red. This is our highlight color on that country red. I love orange flame. It's just so vibrant. It is such a great color for that country red. So look at the vibrancy we get there. Just yummy. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Opposite my shading. I love orange flame. Now each one of these leaves is getting multiple layers of color. So that's one of the reasons I very rarely base coat more than one coat, because it isn't necessary. We're going to be putting on so many other colors. So there's our little bit of orange. I'm going to take that orange right onto the edge of the leaf, and look at how it pops off of that background now. That little bit of orange, right? Love it. And as you're floating, you're overlapping all of those shading colors, so you get this nice transition in there. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I want to carry that bright orange out onto the tips and edges of those leaves. Just like that. And this is what gives you that nice soft transition between colors. So not only are we getting all of those dark shadows, but we're also getting those nice softening of all of those. I love bringing those bright colors to the edges of the leaves. Et voila. And we're going to use that orange flame on that orange leaf as well. Remember what I said? Making sure that you overlap. Those floats are going to overlap those other layers, so you continuously layering one color on top of another. And it softens all of those boundaries. There we go. Look at that. This surprisingly does go very quickly. Quite quickly. Once you know where colors are going. So look at that. I love it. And get that punch of bright orange right onto the tips and edges of those leaves, and they just take on a life of their own. Always amazes me how quickly they come together. So I'm going to use a little bit of my sunset gold, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use that. Remember the base color that we used? We're going to use that to pop our highlights And to make all of those deep shadows stand out, there's absolutely no reason why you can't use your base color as a highlight. Especially since we're going to have so many layers on this thing. So far we have 3 to 4 colors on each one of those leaves. And that little highlight coming out makes a big difference. Look at that. Da, da, da. Oh, and we're not even done yet. So our next layer on this is going to be with, this is fun. We're going to use that torrid orange on our orange leaf. If I can ever get it out of the bottle. I think I need to clear my palette. I don't even have a square inch on here where I can paint. There we go. Okay. Yay. So this is the reason that I love neons. Because we can use them to really make things jump. Oh my stars. There we go. Neon yellow. And where's my green? Oh, nope. Now I'm going to use that neon yellow to highlight my yellow leaves. And it just makes them sing. Look at how vibrant they are. So that's that scorching yellow over top. Now, when you're painting it, it looks really garish. When it's dry, it takes on a different look altogether. It becomes a highlight. And it's a little more subtle. But I love the look of it. It's just so vibrant. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one up here. Just on that highlighted area, get a float of that. Look at that. Wow. They just sing. And take them out onto the edges of the leaf. You go over top of those more opaque yellows with, look at how vibrant that is. I love the look of this. So pretty. And it's so fun. It's just a lot of fun to do. And take that torrid orange. I don't know how they came up with some of these names. The torrid orange we're going to use on the red. We're also going to use the yellow on the red. But watch what happens to this orange leaf here. It just gets so lively when we come in with that beautiful neon orange. Oops, daisy. Love this neon orange. It's just got so much energy. So pretty. Now, we're going to use a little bit of warm white mixed with these neons to do the final highlights on some of these leaves. And I love the look it gives them. It's just so energetic. So, look at that. great vibrancy. So a little bit of that torrid orange, we're going to bring that down onto these red leaves. I love a little, especially on the upper edge of this leaf in particular. And then over the highlighted areas, remember where we put that orange flame? You're going to bring a little of that neon as well. And look at how our leaf just pops off of that surface. Just a perfect amount of highlight. Just like that. I love the look of this. Don't forget that little stem there. Pop a little of that in. Oh, thank you, Lucinda. Yeah, I'm feeling a whole lot better. It's amazing when you have the right doctor and the right medication makes a big difference. I can breathe, which is huge because I haven't been breathing well for the last almost 2 years. So, yes, I'm feeling much better. I can breathe. I still have a ways to go, but I can breathe. So, I love this. Look at this. I love the energy that that little bit of neon brings to these leaves. Bringing that neon onto the red. It's just, oh, gorgeous. And it's surprising, but we are almost finished with this. Well, with the leaves. Got a little bit to do. Got some stems to paint. And a little bit of detailing to do, but we are nearly there. Now, we're going to come out to our yellow leaves here. It's time to bring in a little bit more heat to those yellow leaves. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange flame. I am going to blend this out a little bit. I don't want to overpower that yellow. I want to make it look powerful. So I'm going to float a little orange flame onto the points of some of these leaves. Just in a few locations. So it doesn't drastically change the look of the leaf, but it does give it a little more energy. I think it needs a little heat. And I'm going to deepen and sharpen some of these shadows a little. When you're layering like this, some of those things can get a little lost. So it does help if you come back in with a little extra color just to give things a little more oomph. But I love that little extra orange on our leaf. Just changes these leaves, makes them look so much richer. So we're going to do the same for this one down here. I love this little soft float of, of orange on these leaves. And again, I'm going to deepen some of these vein lines with a little float, just to sharpen them a little. Make them stand out a little bit more. I love that color. Orange, a little bit of orange flame goes a long way. There we are. Love it. So I'm going to take a little bit of my orange flame here. And I need a little asphaltum. Hello. So we have a few stems we need to just stroke in a little bit here. Right there. And a little bit there. Now, I've got my liner and I'm going to grab a little bit of warm white. Just a little. And we're going to use this. I'm going to get a little bit of green on my palette. We're going to add a little highlight to the edges of these leaves in a few places, but we're going to add a little bit of warm white to our neon. And all it's going to do is make this color just a little bit more opaque. So on our yellow leaves, I'm going to use a little of this and just stroke in a little bit of that neon in a few places along the edges of those shadows. So right here, just to brighten a few places and to pop some of these highlights. I love this color, this mixture with that little bit of white in it. It just sharpens and brightens the edges of those leaves. It's such a subtle effect, but it's that little bit of neon. Get that highlight in. And just at the edge of the leaf, a little stroke of that neon mixed with the warm white. It just makes those leaves pop. And we're going to come down to this other yellow leaf, do the same thing. It's a fine line. We don't want it to be a big, thick, heavy line. Doesn't need to be. And it's right on the edge of the leaf. And right on the edge of those highlights. Right, like that. Just gives these leaves a little brighter and a little more definition. I love the definition. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing with the orange. So a little bit of warm white, little bit of that neon orange. Oops, I kind of overdid it with the white. Oh, that's better. And we're going to do the same thing. Keep the lines fine. It just makes a world of difference. And as I said, keep those lines fine so that they don't overpower everything. There we go. Oopsie-daisy. Look at that. And also for this one. I love this. Having that little bit of a highlight just makes such a nice change. And we're not looking for ultra realism here, but we are looking for bright color. I really want that bright color. To make it stand out nicely against all of that black. The black can get a little overpowering. And I just love a little brightness and a little color to make that a little more subtle. There we go. Now we're down to this little one here. I'm using that orange, but I'm thinking a little bit of yellow in there just for fun. There we go. There we are. I love it. I love it, I love it. So we've got the highlights on our leaves. I can tell he's giving me some plums. Our local Costco had plums last fall, just beautiful plums. And my husband loves stewed plums, so I stewed a whole bunch And now I have those in the pantry. I mean, he likes them hot in the wintertime. So there we go. We have some very pretty leaves. Little stroke of color here and there. I like little green with some white for that green leaf. Again, I love that little highlight on the edge of the leaf. It just makes them so pretty. There we are, little stroke. There we go. I've done my beets, I did my mustard pickles, I did my chow chow. So really all we have left now is our little bird and the lettering, and we're cooking with gas. And we'll do a few little finishing things as well, but our little bird, I'm going to treat our little bird the same way we treated the leaves. We're going to start with a little bit of a wash of warm white. A little bit of glaze or water. We just need a little wash of warm white. Nothing fancy. Just a thin wash, like so. And do the same to the cheek, right here. This little guy is actually really easy to paint. Patrick, have a great weekend. Oh, my husband likes them as is, warmed. I like them over top of oatmeal or ice cream, either. Oh, fabulous. So we've got our little chickadee. And I'm going to show you how easy he is to paint. He is such a simple little thing to paint, but he's so fun to paint. So remember the gray, that cobblestone color that we used in the background for that stenciling? That's what we're going to use to paint our little chickadee. So I'm going to load my brush with a little bit of cobblestone. A little too much water. There we go. And I'm going to start with the tail. So I've got my brush loaded as if to float, and I'm going to stand it on the chisel edge. And I'm going to pull it 3 or 4 strokes like so. All the way up. So it's going to be the brightest at the edge, and then it's just going to fade out up here. Just light. There we go. And then we're going to use that same method for the wing. Each of those individual feathers or lines that you see there coming back is just going to be on the chisel edge and create a series of rows with a small space in between. Just like that. So let me show you what it looks like. Pretty rough. It's okay. We're doing the boydie. Just the bird and the lettering left. He's pretty simple. So the top of the wing, again, I've just got cobblestone. We're going to put a series of floats that look like fish scales. That's the first row. And you're going to dry it. And then we're going to put another row of fish scales over top. And then we're going to do it again. Just they get progressively smaller as you go up. So that's what it should look like. Right there. Super easy. So I'm going to dry that. This little guy is so easy to paint. So I have salted caramel, which is another one of my favorite colors from last year. I love this great yellow. You can use it on your leaves too if you want. You can deepen tones with, I love this color. So I'm going to take a little bit of salted caramel. I'll load my brush as if to float. And I'm going to put a float of this color under the wing, all the way down here. I think I thinned it a bit too much. I need it darker than that. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So I like this color. I'm going to bring it up underneath the wing. And you're going to float the belly like that. Sorry. It's not perfect. It's not even opaque, but we're going to do another layer. So I'm going to come in again with another layer of that salted caramel, just like that. And yep, that's plenty. I'm going to dry that. And then I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum, and we're going to float underneath the wing. Nice little shadow of asphaltum just underneath the wing, like so. And a little bit just at his derriere, right there. So there is your asphaltum. Now, I'm going to use that, oh goodness, grabbed the wrong brush. We're going to use a little bit of asphaltum to shade the wings. So right underneath that first layer of fish scales, we're going to put a float of asphaltum right on those feathers. You're going to blend it out a little bit, and you're going to shade under each layer of those scales, so to speak, with a little bit of asphaltum, just to separate them a little. So then we're going to use the chisel edge of that shader with a little bit of asphaltum on it to put a little bit of that color underneath each row of those feathers. And then we're going to use thinned warm white to add a little highlight to the edges of those feathers. I'm using just a little bit of thinned warm white and a liner. I got a little too thin, I think. These feathers need just a little highlight at that edge. Just like so. There we go. I kind of like them to be not perfect at the edges because it gives their feathers a little ruffled look. So next, we're going to shade that tail. So underneath the wing, and come about a third of the way down with a float of asphaltum. And then we're going to dry it And then we're going to use our liner brush to add the little details to the tail. Again, this is not a super realistic little bird, but we do want nice little tail feathers, like so. So we've got that nice little highlight at the edge of the bottom of the tail, and then that white, just fine white lines that come up the tail just to give it a little texture. So we have to develop our little guy's chest here, and we're going to use a layer of that cobblestone. And we're going to work over that white with just, ooh, goodness, too much water. There we go. Just a few little strokes down the belly and just slightly overlapping that cobblestone onto the caramel. Fine little lines, just like that. And we want to come down to about where his feet would be, so right about here. So it's going to look a little choppy. That's okay. Oh, goodness. A little more. Didn't quite thin it enough. There we go. So fine little lines like this over top of that little bit. And don't forget to come out past the edge of the belly a little with some very fine lines. It's going to make our little fellow look a little fluffier. So there we've got a layer of cobblestone. And I am overlapping that salted caramel just a little bit. It just gives him a little bit of texture. So the next thing we're going to do is take that warm white. We're going to put another layer over top. And this is what makes this little guy look so fluffy. Is all of these layers, thinned layers. I'm using very fine strokes over top of that cobblestone. And follow the shape of his body. And I'm thinning it out. I've got a very thin layer of warm white. Comes back out. Make sure you come right down. So they're getting a little more sparse as you work down. Now we have titanium white because we need a brighter white for our little guy here. And this is sort of that final layer where we're going to put all the brightness right on his chest, the upper part of his chest. And you're going to layer over top of that cobblestone and that warm white. You're going to bring them fairly close together at this point. So we're going to have that nice bright little chest. And then we're going to repeat that on the cheek. So we've got a nice little cheek. Follow the shape of the cheek. I do it with the cobblestone first and then with warm white. Layers, layers, layers. More layers, more depth. So there we go. There's the cobblestone. And then we're going to do that warm white. A little more sparse so that you get a little of that gray coming through, that cobblestone coming through, a little of the black coming through. And then he needs a nice bright white cheek, so we're going to go in with a little bit of titanium white. And I love the titanium white. Nice little fine strokes of titanium white. Going to give this guy a nice bright white cheek. Go. Look at that. So this little guy's not complete until he has an eye. And the eye, it's not going to stand out unless there is white surrounding it. So we're going to put a white dip dot on first. So I've got a very bright white eye. And I'm going to dry it well. And then we're going to use a little bit of black. Just a touch. Don't need a lot of black on the palette right now. So I've got the eye dry. I'm going to pick up with the same size brush a little bit of lamp black. And you're going to center that onto that white eye and just press until you're left with a little sliver of white around the edge. Just like that. Now we're going to add a few details using lamp black. I like having going back in with a little black because it softens boundaries. So you're going to overlap that little bit at the throat with some black, and then you're going to use that fine line of black and come all the way back over the shoulder. It's fine. It's not a heavy line, but it's going to define our little chickadee here. So right over the shoulder, onto the face. Be sure to bring a little of black down onto this little white cheek here. Nice and soft. It just makes things look a little more realistic. And then you're going to use that warm white. You're going to heavily thin this because we need it really fine. We're going to put a little highlight at the top of his beak. And then we're going to shape his head using very fine, light strokes across the top of his head. And a few on the front of his face here. Keep them very light. And just a few sparse ones. It helps you shape his head a little without changing it. And then at the throat, we're going to use a few little strokes of white at the edge of his black throat here, just to make him fluffy. Now he needs a nice bright highlight on his eyeball. You're going to do that with a little dot of titanium or warm white, either one. It's so small it doesn't really matter. So I want to just clean up a couple of spots. I want to use a little asphaltum here. Just want to soften his wing a little. There we go. Same with his tail. I just want to shorten that up a bit. Now, when you're looking at him, if he doesn't look round enough, you can come back in with a little bit of that salted caramel to soften some of that highlight. And if you bring that up forward, look at how now he looks nice and plump. So we just have a couple little details to deal with. I'm going to take a little bit of asphaltum and I'm going to give him some toes. I'm going to strengthen some lines in there. And then we have our lettering back here. I love this. I just think, there's nothing cuter than a little chickadee sitting on that. So we're going to finish off the lettering. It's a super easy one because we're going to thin out this paint quite a bit. In the original one, I actually had to sand my lettering back because it got way too bright, and I still think it's way too bright. But I'm going to use my zero rigger to stroke in my lettering with a little bit of thinned warm white. I do love my warm white. I'm using a zero rigger and heavily thinned warm white. And I still think it's too bright, but it's okay. Renee will magically appear here any minute now. He's kind of run ragged today. He's running in and checking on the live and on the feed and making sure everything is going smoothly. And then he's running back out to help his father with the, with the construction on the back deck. So he's being run in two different directions today. So I chose warm white for the lettering, and I'm looking at it now and thinking, maybe I should have done it in cobblestone, but hindsight's 20/20. I need to thin out my paint a little more. I know I put lettering in almost everything. I have a penchant for lettering. I have no idea why. I love how it looks, and it's as much an art. Creating these fonts is as much an art as creating the artwork itself. So I just love how it always seems to add something to a finished piece to have a really pretty font. Okay, so Au Jardin, which is French for in the garden. Oh, I love this one. Which chicken? I love chickens. Sandy, go do some shopping and have a great weekend. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick trick here. I'm going to use my Factus Black eraser. Make sure my lettering is dry. And I'm going to remove my graphite. I find removing the graphite just cleans up the lettering so much. Makes a world of difference. So you can go around and clean up your graphite. I like the Factus Black for this because it doesn't leave polished spots and shiny spots on black backgrounds, which is a big deal for me. So I'm looking at my lettering. It's a little too bright. So I'm going to very gently sand my lettering with one of my Sal sanders. I'm going to take a brush and a little bit of water over top of it there. I'm going to dry it, and then I'm just going to add a little asphaltum over the lettering just to warm it up a little. Keep it in tone with everything else. So, and this is what I love about it. I'm just taking an angled shader with a little bit of asphaltum, and I'm just putting a weak float of asphaltum over the letters. It just brings all the lettering into line with everything else that's in this piece. Ta-da! So drying that, I'm going to take that Factus and clean up a few graphite lines because they're driving me crazy. I hate graphite lines. And once they're gone, everything seems to take on a cleaner look anyway. And this is the point where I tend to go around, after I've erased my graphite lines, I tend to go around and fix little things, clean up spots where, things didn't quite meet up, areas where it needs, shadows need a little deepening. There's always a few of those that you need to adjust, and this is the time that you would do that, after you remove all the graphite lines. Now to seal this, all you have to do is, as I said, clean it up. Give it 1 or 2 light coats of DecoArt matte spray. I love matte spray. And then let it dry well, and then all you have to do is apply 1 or 2 coats of your favorite varnish. And there you have it. Ta-da! In the autumn garden. Fun and easy. Yeah, it's a fun and easy one. I love this. Would look cute in a frame. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun to paint. It was a lot of fun. So this is about the 3rd time I've painted this one. I always paint things at least once or twice. At least. Usually more. There's Linda Morgan. What kind of sander did I use to knock back the lettering? I love these things. These are actually available in, sorry, wrong camera. These are just nail files. You can get them in most cosmetic departments. They're soft, spongy, and they are ultra fine and fine. And so they're ideal for sanding in small areas and without cutting through all of the paint that you've just spent so much time putting on. I love these things for little details on furniture pieces, almost anything. Fantastic little tool. And we do carry them on my website. A 6-month-old puppy is stealing things. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Give him something else to play with.
Yes. Distract him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you take something away, make sure you give something in return.
Yeah. So if you
know that that's okay to have, that and that other thing
is not. And it takes a while, I can tell you. Miss Mays went through that phase too.
Yeah. She's almost 2 years old, and every once in a while she still steals a pair of socks.
Yeah. Primarily just to get our attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does it to get attention.
Yeah.
But she used to be prolific.
Oh, every time you turned around, she was stealing something. Lately, she's had a penchant for stealing the cushions off of my bed. The decorative pillows.
Gets your attention.
It gets my attention. The other day, she came to the top of the stairs with the neck roll in her mouth. Yeah. Hi, Mom. And as soon as I said no, she ran back.
6-month-old puppy just starts to.
Yep. Yep. Good luck with that. Okay, so we have, I'll just go over this. I'm not entirely sure what's in those giveaways today because I packed a whole bunch of them this week and I've forgotten what's in them.
You don't know what these are?
I can't remember what's in them. I know there's probably brushes. There's probably, there's stuff. Pencils, pens.
Stuff.
There's stuff. I'm not absolutely sure what's in them, but there's probably brushes and whatnot in there. And as always, we always have some fun goodies, pin kits and things like that we tuck in. So.
Can't believe Maze is almost 2 already.
Oh yeah. She's starting to mellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting.
For a Mal.
For Mel, yes.
For a Mal, she's also very reserved.
Yeah. For Mel.
For a Mal. She's very reserved for a Mal. Still think we should get another one.
I do too. Not a puppy though.
Not a puppy. I'd go with a male.
Yeah. Young male. Roughly the same age, I think. I'd be happily skip over the whole puppy stage.
It's the,
Renee's being inundated by pop-ups today.
that update.
Oh, Kathy Williams wants an eye-arted pin. We also have the eye-arted stickers. We got those this week, too.
Are we gonna spin?
Yes, go ahead.
Spinning!
I know, Kathy. I love the fall. It's my favorite season. Oh, my goodness, that wheel is full today.
And who do we got?
Denise Gill. Remember, if your name comes up on the wheel, all you have to do is pop over to the website at tracymoreau.net, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible.
Number 2.
The cardinal behind me is what's being done by my membership group this month. Bette Delan.
Delon?
And we have one more.
She's whining. Why are you whining?
Because you're down here and she's on the other side of that door. That's why she's whining. I'd never get that name right. Susan, I know you can see that. So I'm going to make a mess of pronouncing that. So I'm not going to.
That could have been a little bit of fat finger from me. So unless that's how you spell your name, then I meant to do that.
All right. Congratulations to our 3 winners. Thank you so much for watching. And to all of you, thank you for joining us every Saturday as you do. Look forward to a newsletter on Monday. We will have next Saturday's project. My mouth wasn't working. Next Saturday's project will be posted in the newsletter this week. And of course, we always post it on Facebook and on the Tracy Morrow Live page as well. So join us next Saturday, same time, same bat channel. We'll be here painting another project. This week, it's a Christmas project, just to end the month of July. Oh, stop frowning. There's no glitter in it. Well, not yet. Everybody have a safe and great weekend. For those of you in the South, please try to stay dry. You're in for some rough weather for the weekend. We love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
And cat and horse and cow and
Chickens.
chicken.
Chickens. Some people like to cuddle chickens.
Pigs. Potbelly pigs.
Potbelly pigs.
They are cute.
Okay.
They're evil creatures, but they're cute.
Some people say that about males.
No, they're demon dogs.
Demon dogs.
Later.